A very warm good afternoon to all the students who are joining us for this live answer writing session. We are calling it DAW, that is daily answer writing. So we are towards the end of the month as well as the year, and we are completing the GS3 paper now. We are at 23rd question. If you are new to the session, you can be a live student or you can be watching it after the session is done and you're watching a recorded session. If you have any doubt regarding answer writing or regarding your mains preparation, you can put it in the comment section and we will try to integrate those doubts within the next session and in the current section. And in the current session, if you are putting your comments in the live section. Okay. So let's start our today's session. So we are handling a very interesting question, a question which has very, very high probability to come because it is related to current affairs and it is actually a mix of current and static. Let's look at it. Evaluate the objectives and initiatives of the Indian semiconductor mission. So Government of India has come up with a semiconductor mission and the question is asking that what are the objectives and what are the initiatives in promoting self-sufficiency in semiconductor production. Okay. Then discuss the key features of the mission. So we have to tell that what are the key features and we have to explain that how it aligns with India's broader economic goals. So in a 10 marker, we can see that how the question is asking about a lot of things. The question is revolving around semiconductor industry. It is asking what are the features of the mission, how it is aligning with the broader Indian economic goals, and what are the objectives and initiatives. So objective, initiative, features, इनको हम club कर सकते हैं एक साथ, है ना? So let's see how we can structure this answer now. We will introduce the question as usual. Always try to keep your 10 markers really crisp. That is the thing which I'm constantly telling. In every session I'm telling you this, that how you have to keep your introduction for the 10 markers really crisp and short. Just 2 to 3 lines maximum. Okay. Then we will introduce about Indian semiconductor mission. What all we can address in this part, we can tell that what are the objectives, what are the features, because they are asking features here, they are asking objectives here, and we can tell that what are the initiatives that are being taken under this. Okay. Then we have to tell that how these objectives, missions and features, how they align with the India's broader economic goals. So how semiconductor mission, how it is aligning with the broader economic goals. Now this is that part of the question where you will get stuck or you will not be able to generate that much of points. We will see how to do that. After that, you will conclude the question. But don't you think that when it comes to the evaluation, if we are telling about some of the evaluation, then don't you think that there is also scope that you do not just mention, but you also tell about certain of the challenges? On that, my opinion is that question is a 10 marker question and there is a very crunch of space, right? So even if you want to tell the challenges, just tell it in a very, very crisp manner. Just tell it in a very, very crisp manner just before the conclusion, because you are going to give a futuristic conclusion and you can give the challenges regarding this mission just before the conclusion so that you can give the conclusion on a bright and optimistic note, right? Now let's see each part. First, we will start with the introduction. Now what all we can introduce in the introduction? That how we are living in an era of fourth industrial revolution. And what is the fourth industrial revolution about? Fourth industrial revolution is about the IT age. It is about the IT age. It is about machine learning. It is about AI. All of this is getting powered by the semiconductors. Okay. So you can give this kind of context. Then the other kind of context which you can give is that how most of the organizations which are producing semiconductors, who are the major giants, TSMC, Intel, Nvidia, okay, Samsung, all these groups, their supply chains for semiconductor, they are centered either around China or around Taiwan or around USA. So how there is scope? What happened in the COVID-19 pandemic? That we were facing shortage of semiconductors. Why? Because there was weaponization of supply chains. Weaponization of supply chains means that ultimately these countries, they kept major of the semiconductor production to their own countries, and countries like India in the south, we were not given access to the conductors, and there was lot of shortage of semiconductors in the market, right? Specifically in the Indian context. So this is important. Then if you are able to also remember the number, there is a report by Niti Aayog, and even there is a section within the India at 75, that talks about that how the demand for semiconductors in India will almost double by 2030. And we need to fulfill this demand. How are we going to fulfill this demand? By producing the semiconductors on our own. So you can also tell that how India has the goal of becoming Atmanirbhar. Atmanirbhar when it comes to the semiconductors or the technology sector, right? This is the larger framework under which you can introduce your answer. Now, before we even jump to what are the objectives, features, initiatives, let me give you the idea of how important semiconductors are to the economy. So what are ultimately semiconductors? They are certain electronic equipments or electronic chipsets, okay, which are very, very powerful when it comes to the computing power, okay. So obviously they are being used in smartphones. They are being used in smartphones and computer. But this was the traditional use of semiconductors. These were those areas in IT which were traditionally using semiconductors. Now we are seeing that how semiconductors, how the small chips, they are integrated in almost all the devices. You can start with your surrounding. Look at your ACs. Look at your refrigerators. Look at the cars that you are driving. We are talking about driverless cars. Right? So all and any kind of equipments. For example, we are talking about how to go for smart grids, how to go for smart meters, anything where you can see that there is automation and we are going for application of the data analytics tools. We are using semiconductors in those areas. Even when it comes to the Internet of Things, we are talking about 5G. Then we are also talking about going for automation, robotics. Then when it comes to precision medicine, precision medicine, when it comes to the precision medicine, you also have to think about that how robotics will be introduced in medicine. So how in all of this, in all of these measures, for example, even if you talk about an MRI machine, you talk about a CT scan machine, all the machines have included semiconductors in them. There is possibly no electronic product around you, from a camera to maybe your iPad, that is not having a semiconductor in it. Okay, so there was even a report some days back that the per capita demand of semiconductors, every person in a direct or an indirect way is using almost 15 to 20 semiconductors. Okay, that is the per capita demand, and as we are seeing that more and more smartphone usage is increasing in India, the middle income group is increasing, the consumption is rising, we are going to see a demand. Okay, so that is the picture in which we need to see semiconductors. Also, one of the most important use of semiconductors is in defense. Now imagine that we are importing certain semiconductors and we are using it in the different intelligence equipments, in the different airplanes, in the different ships, okay, which are there for the defense purposes. So what if China is making those kind of chipsets which is sending data back to the China? So there is also the component where we are not able to trust different electronic equipments and semiconductors which we are importing from China. Though they are cheap, though they are at extremely cheap rates, but even then we are not able to form that trust when it comes to having those chipsets in our defense equipment. So we need to produce it within the India. Okay, this is the interlinkage when it comes to the semiconductor. And I know that this might seem that sir, where can we use this as the answer? The thing is, while writing the answer, you have to write answer in the generic format, but you have to keep giving examples. You can use these examples there. Okay, Ashu is saying good afternoon. Good afternoon, Ashu. Now, one more important thing which I want to share with you is the supply chain of semiconductor. Okay, the supply chain of semiconductor, why it is important? Because India is participating in different stages of the production. Okay, and there are different technological expertise needed in the stages of production. Let me tell you those supply chains also. So there are three supply chains. There are three stages of the supply chain of semiconductor production. The first one is design. The second one is manufacturing or production. And the third one is packaging. Now, what is the complexity of this three-stage supply chain? This is the first stage, then this is the second stage, then this is the third stage. So initially, when the semiconductors are designed, you have to draw a lot of circuits. You have to design the circuit patterns and everything, and it is a very, very complicated and a delicate process. This happens at a software level, that you first have to design the chipset. Okay, then that design is being printed on the silicon wafers. Okay, this This manufacturing stage is the most complex process when it comes to semiconductor production. Why? First, you need to get the wafers. Then you need to carve those wafers in which you will draw the circuits. That is done through the process of lithography. All these keywords can be used somewhere or the other. You can even use this information in your prelims. This process of lithography is very, very complicated. There is a company called ASML. This company called ASML, it is headquartered in Netherlands. Okay. And though it is in Netherlands, but it is totally controlled by USA. This company produces those machines which perform the task of lithography on the wafers. Okay, through which you can fix in the semiconductors in them. So how this lithography is a very, very complicated process, and the technology is not there with the people. Then you need trained workforce who are going to perform these kind of tasks for you. This is a very, very complicated process again. Okay. Now after this production stage of the wafers, of the silicon wafers, then the third stage is packaging, where you need to package it, where you need to network it in a exporting stage, or where you need to fix it within the device. So the thing is that India currently is involved in this stage of work. If we talk about the traditional ways in which India is involved in the semiconductor industry, we are designing the chipsets. The R&D center center of Samsung in India, Intel in India, the IT professionals in the service sector, they are doing this stage. But we are almost null when it comes to the manufacturing, and this is also very less. So India is firstly having an ambition to first venture into the packaging stage, and India also has ambitions to go for manufacturing of semiconductors. Okay, this is the supply chain, so that the picture is also clear to you. And you must have read that when Prime Minister was in USA, then a lot of companies like Micron, they are giving up a lot of investment under the PLI scheme, the production linked incentive scheme, under which they will be getting lot of incentives by the government of India to set up these kind of industries, right? So this is the supply chain. Now if you can note it down later when you will get the video. Now we have understood the whole picture. Okay, now we can move to those parts where we will discuss that was what this Indian semiconductor mission is about. अभी हम देख पाएंगे ढंग से. So Indian semiconductor mission, what are the objectives? The objectives is that right now we are just focusing on the design stage, and from this design stage we also move towards the packaging and the production stage, towards the manufacturing stage. So production and packaging from the design. Then the other objective is to get self-reliance in semiconductors. Okay. What is the other important point? That India is looking to also enhance the production of electronic industry. What do we mean by that? We are looking to manufacture a lot of smartphones in India. You must have seen that how government is emphasizing a lot on different kind of manufacturers like Apple that you produce in India. Government is calling it as network products. That even if some other part is getting manufactured in some other area, you can come in India and assemble in India. So they are calling it assemble in India. Now what you can do is that if you are also producing the semiconductors within India, so you can shift from assemble in India to made in India, right? These are the objectives. Now if we look at what are the features and what are the initiatives that the government has taken, for that I have prepared some points which are the exact point from the Indian Semiconductor Mission. Why? Because these can be directly asked in your prelims exam also. So I wanted that आपको ये exactly word by word पता हो, right? So the first is scheme for semiconductor fabs. What are fabs? See, I have shared with you, that's why I have shared with you the production cycle of the semiconductors. At the second stage, which is the manufacturing stage, you need, we all know that how we need silicon. We need the silicon on which you can print the semiconductor designs, the circuit chips. So fab is this base. Fab is the base, the silicon base on which different chipset designs are created. Thousands and hundreds of chips are created on this fab. Why? You must have heard some keywords like 5 nanometer chip, 3 nanometer chip, 4 nanometer chip, 7 nanometer chip. So these are the sizes of the semiconductors. In the modern era, we are seeing the use of 5 nanometer chip, but you must have seen that how latest devices of Apple, they claim that we are using the 5 nanometer chip. This is one of the most advanced nanometer chips, but now we are also moving towards 3 and 4 nanometer. What this means is that the size of one semiconductor, basically there are a lot of different small circuits within one chip, and as you reduce the size of small semiconductors that you can fit within one chip, the more number of transistors are there within that semiconductor. So the smaller one semiconductor gets, the more number of transistors you can fit in that chip and the more computing power it can perform. So these are called the fabs, है ना? So how India has launched a scheme on this, let's see that. We are giving financial help to bring in big investment to create places in India where semiconductor wafers, the fabs are also called wafers, semiconductor wafers, the base on which we go for carving and creating semiconductors. So we are giving financial help to places where semiconductor fabs can be created. For instance, offering money rewards to qualified applicants who want to build these facilities. This is happening again under the PLI scheme. Scheme for display fabs. Now we know that fabs are the bases. Then there can be semiconductor fabs, there can be display fabs also. Using people to invest in making TFT, LCD and AMOLED displays. We all know that how the whole screen of the phone, this is again one of the usages of the semiconductors, है ना? तो उसके लिए display fabs का भी हम लोगों ने incentive दिया है. We are supporting by financial component. Compound semiconductor silicon photonics scheme. देखिए टेक्निकल वर्ड्स देखिए ना, डरना नहीं है. अगर ये एग्जैक्ट वर्ड ऑफ मेंस में यूज भी नहीं कर पाएंगे तो भी चलेगा. Why I am showing these keywords? So that इससे रिलेटेड अगर कुछ प्रीलिम्स में आएगा तो आपको ये पता होना चाहिए. Helping set up places in India where compound semiconductors, silicon photonics, sensors and assembly testing, marking and packaging of semiconductor happens. So I have shared with you the 3 stages, right? The first stage is design, then there is production, then there is packaging. So how this scheme is about that part where we go for packaging, assembly, testing, marking. All this is the last stage of semiconductor production. This support includes giving financial assistance. Then there is design linked incentive scheme. So what is the first stage? Design, then there is manufacturing, then there is packaging. This one is related to the design part. Giving money rewards and helping with necessary infrastructure at different stages of developing semiconductors. This is done to encourage new ideas and innovation in integrated circuit chipsets and system on chips. Ultimately आपको इससे भी कंफ्यूज नहीं होना है, बस इतना समझना है कि एक जब आपको सेमीकंडक्टर चिप बनानी है तो आपको उसके अंदर मिलियंस ऑफ ट्रांजिस्टर्स फिट करने होते हैं which are very very small, and you have to design the arrangement of those transistors within that chipset. So that designing is being done by the design team, which is the first stage. That is happening in USA and countries like South Korea and Japan, है ना. Production is happening in Taiwan. TSMC के बारे में आपने सुना होगा, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. The whole fight about Taiwan is not about that piece of land. आपको लगता होगा, आप अभी न्यूज में सुनते भी रहते होंगे कि कैसे ताइवान एक बहुत स्ट्रेटेजिक लैंड है. चाइना इज ऑल्सो फाइटिंग फॉर इट. यूएसए इज सेइंग वी विल प्रोटेक्ट इट्स इंडिपेंडेंस एंड एवरीथिंग. Most of the strategic significance of Taiwan is all about TSMC. Do read about it. Most of the GDP which is being generated, that is being done by TSMC. TSMC is having the revenues and the kind of value that TSMC has today, that is more than the GDP of certain countries. So you must read about TSMC if you are interested in that. Okay. Now let's see some of the ways of presenting this information. So objectives and initiative of Indian semiconductor mission. Reduction of import. So how we are going for, the exact keyword is that how India wants to reduce its import through import substitution. And when you will reduce import substitution, then you will also manage your current account deficit. You will manage your current account deficit. Your currency will become more strong. Prateek Joshi, I am pausing this because a valid question has been asked by Prateek. Prateek is saying, sir, I used Sunya notes for mains 2023, but since the notes are in model answer form, could not answer questions which asked new dimensions. Can you suggest some other material for mains preparation? Prateek, I don't know which notes you are talking about, because at Sunya IAS we are providing two kind of notes for the mains. The first one is where we are having GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4 booklets. Okay, those booklets look like this. Excuse me. Those booklets look something like this. And then we are having one more booklet which is giving the model answer for the previous year question. So these model answers which we are talking about, they are part of the model answers we are giving for PYQs. But the booklets, the GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4 booklets, they are not in the format of model answers or any kind of answers for specific question. What we have done in those booklets is we have picked up one topic, for example, food processing industry, and we have opened up all the dimensions that you can use in your answer. Prateek is saying that he has used GS booklets, but questions like George, women's suicide, etc. questions. See, Prateek, the thing is, GS mains will always 70% of GS mains would be predicted, and 25 to 30% of the paper would be on unpredictable lines. It will be on that lines where you will have to apply your own brains, है ना. So जो वो जिन क्वेश्चंस की आप बात कर रहे हैं, जो फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर किसी भी हमारे जीएस मेंस के नोट से नहीं आए, द थिंग इज दैट दे वर बाउंसर क्वेश्चंस for everyone, right? So we can never go for civil services mains exam in the 12th board format. You have to understand this, that it can never be like that you will pick up one source and that source from the whole paper will be from that source. This is the basic difference between the 12th boards and the civil services mains, between the college exam and the civil services mains. Here you can pick up one source and you can exhaustively prepare it, है ना? That will assure you 75 to 80%, 70 to 80% of the paper. बट बाकी जो पेपर होगा उनमें आपको क्वेश्चन को मैनेज करने की आर्ट को सीखना है. लेट मी टेल यू वन थिंग because you have asked about it. You are talking about the JOD question. I also wrote the mains exam this year. I have also written the civil services mains exam 2023 and I was as shocked for the JOD question. And I can tell you for sure that anyone who faced that question was as shocked. Okay? But आपको वो क्वेश्चन लिखना तो है ही. मैंने भी लिखा इस बार. ठीक है? मैंने कैसे लिखा उसको? Question was, how are JODs formed? And the next part it asked was that why are they some of the most picturesque locations in the world? ठीक है? First thing is, एग्जाम में जब कभी ऐसा क्वेश्चन आएगा तो शॉक में नहीं चले जाना है, उस मोड में नहीं जाना है कि मुझे तो कुछ पता ही नहीं है इसके बारे में. The thing is, those kind of questions are not meant that they fetch you 5 or 6 marks out of 10. No. इन क्वेश्चंस में अगर आप 3 से 3.5 मार्क्स 4 मार्क्स भी ले आएंगे तो बहुत होगा. उसका रीजन बताता हूं मैं आपको क्या है. उसका रीजन ये है that most of the students, they will blank out and they will think that let's leave this question. I can tell you for sure that if 10,000 students have written mains this year, most of them, around 3 to 4 के तो यार 100% है कि ये पक्का छोड़ के आए होंगे ये क्वेश्चन. तो सबसे पहली बात तो यही है इस क्वेश्चन में कि आपको ये छोड़ना नहीं है, आपको लिखना है. आपको अगर डिसेंट अटेम्प्ट भी कर दिया आपने तो आपको 3-4 नंबर 2.5-3 नंबर तो पक्का मिलेंगे. ये पहली बात है. बट अब इसके बाद मुद्दे की बात पे आते हैं कि क्वेश्चन को अटेम्प्ट कैसे करा मैंने. मैं अपना एक्सपीरियंस शेयर कर रहा हूं आपके साथ. सो आई हैड नॉट हर्ड अबाउट द वर्ड जॉड. ठीक है, ऐसा लग रहा था कि सुना हुआ है, पर सबसे पहली बात तो यह है कि ये जो जॉड वर्ड है, दिस इज देयर इन एनसीईआरटी. तो अगर आपको एग्जाम, अगर आप एनसीईआरटीज आप नहीं पढ़ के जा रहे हैं तो एनसीईआरटीज का सब्स्टिट्यूट कोई बुक नहीं ले सकता. I am representing Sunya IAS here, but still I am saying this to you that NCERTs are must. है ना? मतलब GS मेंस की बुक्स भी आप पढ़ रहे हैं, वहां से कंसोलिडेशन होगा, बिल्कुल होगा. They are the best books that are there. I can vouch for it. ठीक है? I have myself used those books. But NCERTs are must. ठीक है? NCERT में जॉर्ड के बारे में दिया हुआ है, क्लास 11th या 12th की एक NCERT में दिया हुआ है. ठीक है? So the first thing is that it is there in the JOD. That is the first thing. What is the second thing? That मुझे somehow एग्जाम में ऐसा याद आ रहा था that I have read this word JOD when I was reading about one of the research stations which India has set up in the Norway. India has set up a research station in Norway. एंड मुझे एग्जाम में ऐसा याद आ रहा था कि द नेम ऑफ दैट रीजन इज स्वालबार्ड जॉर्ड, बिकॉज आई हैड रेड इट इन सम न्यूज़पेपर दैट इंडिया इज सेटिंग अप दैट रिसर्च स्टेशन इन द नॉर्वे टू स्टडी द आर्कटिक रीजन, टू स्टडी दैट व्हाट इज द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ क्लाइमेट चेंज on the Arctic region and what will be the further impact on atmospheric region. And I could clearly remember that there was a picture in Hindu. While I was reading that article, there was a picture in Hindu of the location of that area. So मुझे पता था that somewhere where the mountains and oceans are colliding, where they are at the same place, and glaciers का भी role होगा. So I tried to address that answer on the same part. I drew a map of the Arctic region from the top of the globe and I showed that how this is Norway, then there is this Iceland, then USA is there, all the Nordic countries are there, and how these regions are called JOD. How they are very steep, how there is immediate gradient shift in the land and the ocean. तो इस तरह से करके आप आंसर को बनाएंगे. फिर उसके बाद why they are the picturesque location, उसमें इसी तरह से मैंने आंसर को बनाया. So the thing is that you are aspiring for civil services mains. You are aspiring to become an IAS officer, to become an IPS officer. When you will be at the ground, suppose this is a district, ठीक है, you have become the DM of this district, you will never have the appropriate amount of resources needed to solve the answer. कभी नहीं होंगी आपके पास, ठीक है, कभी भी नहीं होंगी जितनी रिसोर्सेज चाहिए, उसको मान के चलिए आप. मतलब इट इज लाइक दैट इफ यू आर प्लेइंग अ मैच एंड इन दैट मैच जनरली अगर हम टीम इंडिया को खेलते हुए देखेंगे तो देयर आर 11 प्लेयर्स ऑन द ग्राउंड, राइट. सो आई वाज लिसनिंग दिस टॉपर who was rank 1, Mr. Gaurav Agarwal, and he was sharing that how administration is about going with only 4 to 5 players on ground. चाहिए तो आपको 11 प्लेयर्स, बट आपके पास हैं 4 या 5 ही प्लेयर, और उन्हीं से आपको मैच जीतना भी है, ठीक है. सो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इज लाइक दैट, एंड बिकॉज एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इज लाइक दैट, द पेपर इज ऑल्सो लाइक दैट समटाइम्स आपको सब कुछ नहीं पता होगा, बट उस नहीं पता में भी आप कैसे कर पा रहे हो, है ना. So why I have elaborated in such depth about this doubt of Pratik Joshi is that I have myself fought these dilemmas कि यार ये क्वेश्चन तो पढ़ा हुआ नहीं आया, इसको कैसे करेंगे. तो थोड़ा सा वो एप्टीट्यूड डेवलप करना होगा कि 20 में से अगर 3 क्वेश्चन ऐसे आ भी जाए जो आपको नहीं पता, तो उसमें घबराना नहीं है, वो सबको नहीं पता. पर हाँ, अगर आपको 20 क्वेश्चन में से 10 क्वेश्चन नहीं आ रहे, तब आपके अंदर नॉलेज की कमी है, तब आपको अपना मेंस का प्रिपरेशन और स्ट्रॉन्ग करना पड़ेगा, ठीक है. सो आई होप प्रतीक का डाउट क्लियर है. आशु इज आस्किंग मेंस क्लियर हो गया क्या, आपका इंटरव्यू दे रहे हो सर. यस, आई हैव क्लियर्ड द मेंस एंड आई विल बी गिविंग इंटरव्यू दिस ईयर. यू मस्ट हैव सीन दैट थोड़ा सा इनकंसिस्टेंसी रहा है डॉ के सेशंस में, बीच में मैं कुछ दिन नहीं आ पाया, तो वही रीजन था, बिकॉज आई हैड टू फिल माई डैफ, कुछ और भी इंपॉर्टेंट काम थे इंटरव्यू प्रिपरेशन से रिलेटेड. दैट्स व्हाई देयर वाज दिस हिकअप. नाउ कम, लेट्स कम बैक टू द प्रतीक इज सेइंग ओके सर, थैंक्स अ लॉट. ग्रेट. सो प्रतीक का डाउट क्लियर है. प्रतीक देखिए, कोई भी एक सोर्स पकड़िए, मेरा आपको एक ब्रदरली सजेशन है ये कि डू नॉट वॉन्डर बिटवीन 2 और 3 सोर्सेज, ठीक है. एनसीईआरटी तो मतलब अनअवॉइडेबल है, प्रीलिम्स के लिए भी मेंस के लिए भी, बट उसके बाद आपको जो उसके ऊपर एक कंटेंट, एक बेस के ऊपर आपको एक स्ट्रॉन्ग वैल्यू एडिशन की लेयर डालनी है. वहां पर आप कोई भी एक सोर्स पकड़ लीजिए. आई हैव माई सेल्फ रिटन 3 मेंस, जिसमें से शून्य IAS मैंने बहुत एक्सटेंसिवली यूज किया है इन माई 2023 मेंस. तो मैंने तो वही किया था, मैंने और कुछ नहीं किया था, राइट. So just stick with one. That is my ultimate suggestion. शून्य IAS notes बहुत comprehensive है, मैंने वही किए थे. That's it. That's all I have to say. Okay. So we were discussing that what are the features. How can we present that idea? Reduction of import we can do. For example, reducing the dependence from countries like USA, Japan, and Taiwan. Then creates a favorable business environment. How we are looking to create semiconductors within India so that any kind of investors who are coming within the country, they can get the semiconductors automatically from the country. There will be no supply chain hiccups, right. Then how intellectual property promotes and facilitates. So when we will be making production on semiconductors in India, so how it will also enhance the intellectual property. More patents can be filed within India, more research and innovation can happen. Okay. So then what are the initiatives? Semiconductor fab, design linked incentive, semiconductor laboratory. इन्होंने exact points लिखे हैं जो semiconductor, अगर हम semiconductor mission देखेंगे, exact all these 3 points are there. Okay. अभी क्या आपको एग्जाम में ये सारे पॉइंट्स याद रहेंगे, जरूरी नहीं है, पर यहां पे लिखे हैं, बहुत अच्छी बात है. देखिए, मेरा सजेशन ये रहेगा, जब आप आंसर राइटिंग की प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं, व्हेन यू आर प्रैक्टिसिंग द आंसर्स इन योर मॉक टेस्ट, इन योर एट योर होम, यू आर डूइंग दिस डॉ प्रोग्राम ऑफ शून्य IAS, यहां पर आप एक बार को ये भी कर सकते हैं कि आप वो टॉपिक पढ़ने से पहले, एक टॉपिक करने से पहले पिछले दिन उस टॉपिक को एक बार पढ़ लें, है ना. अल्टीमेटली द गोल इज, यहां पे एक बार अगर आपने देख के लिख भी लिया तो एग्जाम सिनेरियो में तो आपको एग्जैक्टली याद रहेगा ही रहेगा, है ना. बट इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू रिमेंबर ऑल द डिफरेंट इनिशिएटिव्स, बट द कैंडिडेट हैज डन इट, इट इज वेरी गुड. Then what are the key features of the mission? Global leadership, how we want to become part of the global supply chains, right? We have a mission to go for resilience in supply chain. What are we doing for that? We have also signed a treaty with Japan and Australia under the Japan Australia India trilateral. इसके अंदर हम क्या कर रहे हैं? We have signed the initiative of supply chain resilient initiative, है ना. What we have also done, one of the very important other things, India has also signed mineral security partnership. So mineral security partnership भी हमने sign कर ली है, right? All these things will help in our mission. Then nodal agency for global exports बन जाएंगे. We will be also becoming part of the exports in semiconductor. Then it will also support the startups. ठीक है. And how the information is presented in a really smart manner, that is very good point. Objectives of Indian semiconductor mission, how we are going for financial support, we will become the nodal agency, there will be economic benefits, there will be also skill development, how it will also promote intellectual property. Intellectual property वाला point काफी अच्छा है और सबने लिखा है, ठीक है. I am not reading the answer, but I am catching the keywords, and I am 100% sure that in the final examination the examiner will also just catch the keyword. इसलिए लंबे लंबे points नहीं लिखने हैं. We don't have to write one point which is of 7 to 8 line. We just have to write one point which is telling the point in a crisp manner in 2 to 3 lines. Okay. Then what are the key features? Again, semiconductor fabs, display fabs, design linked incentive. This part is very, very good. I was talking about this, that in a very crisp manner, how you can just tell the crisp challenges. What are the challenges? Financial constraints, lack of technology, unskilled labor, government policy, and rare earth element. I would definitely, if I am the examiner, I would definitely give plus one marks to this copy. Why? Because question is asking me to evaluate the policy, and while we are trying to give an evaluation, we just don't have to tell the features कि हाँ ये कर दिया. We also have to tell that what is lacking, what more can be done. That is part of the challenges. So कैसे इन्होंने challenges में बहुत ज़्यादा space भी waste नहीं किया है, but challenges को include भी कर दिया है. That is very, very important. Okay. Objectives, वापस से crisp way में objectives लिखे हुए हैं. Initiatives हमने देख ही लिए थे. The presentation is good, है ना. अब इसका हम second part देखते हैं. What was the second part? That how it will align with the larger Indian economy के जो हमारे goals हैं, right? So हमारे economy के goals क्या हैं? We want to become resilient, we want to become independent when it comes to the production of supply chain, we want to reduce our import, we want to reduce our current account deficit. We then also want to become an exporting nation. We want to attract investment. All these larger features that are there, आप उनको link करिए scheme से, कैसे ये करने से achieve होगा. How we also want to enhance the share of manufacturing sector, है ना. Why I'm not writing all this down? Because we are a little short on time. It's already been around 40 minutes, so I'm just narrating it. How we want to enhance the employment, how we want to give skill to the people, how we want to enhance the exports, how we want to enhance the number of manufacturing sector within the economy. Currently, we are at around 15 to 17% of the total sectors when it comes to the share of manufacturing sector. But how it will help if we will enhance the manufacturing sector. So how this will help in that? Make in India बढ़ेगा. Make in India will rise. Then we will have Digital India initiatives, how it will promote innovation, how it will boost the electronic manufacturing. ठीक है. So वही points हैं, बट इनके आंसर में अच्छी बात क्या है कि पॉइंट्स आर वेरी क्रिस्प एंड ऑल द रेलेवेंट कीवर्ड्स आर अगेन देयर. इन्वेस्टमेंट बढ़ रहा है, टेक्नोलॉजी एडॉप्शन, डिजाइन लिंक्ड इंसेंटिव, पीएलआई. Then they have given a conclusion on the lines of how, see, this is again, I would end up giving half marks extra here. Why? Because they are saying India's technological landscape and it aligns with the sustainable development goal number 8, which is decent work and economic growth, and goal number 9, that is industry innovation and infrastructure. So how industry innovation infrastructure? Because of the kind of technological nature of the semiconductor which is part of the manufacturing, and how number 8 means that it is producing jobs, it is giving decent economic growth and decent work to the people. Very good conclusion. Okay, very good conclusion. Then तो यहां पे आई थिंक इन्होंने एक चीज मिस करी है. दिस कॉपी इज लैकिंग वन थिंग, दैट दे हैव नॉट इंटीग्रेटेड their answer with the larger Indian economic goals, that how it will produce infrastructure, how it will enhance innovation, enhance investment, enhance employment. So यहाँ पे इनका कम से कम 1.5 मार्क्स जाएगा, बिकॉज इन्होंने वो पार्ट को कवर ही नहीं किया है. दिस इज सेकेंड कॉपी, है ना. सो चैलेंजेस तो इन्होंने बता दिए, बट दे हैव नॉट कवर्ड दैट पार्ट. दे हैव जस्ट गिवन अ वे फॉरवर्ड आफ्टर इट. Electronics Industry 4.0, plurilateral semiconductor ecosystem. To become Vishwa Guru, we have to become a key player in the trusted plurilateral semiconductor ecosystem, because it is the unit of new electronic world. Conclusion is also good, but they have entirely left one of the parts of the answer. That part was that how it will help in the larger Indian economic goals. To make India, so what are the larger Indian economic goals? To make India a semiconductor hub, self-reliance, requirement. थोड़ा इकोनॉमी वाली नॉलेज को लेके आना है यहाँ पे. एम्प्लॉयमेंट, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, इनोवेशन, इन्वेस्टमेंट, वो सब चीजें लेके आनी है जो कि पहले आंसर में हमने देखा था. वे फॉरवर्ड, मोर इंसेंटिव टू अट्रैक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट, स्किल डेवलपमेंट. ओके, सो I hope that today's session was useful, and ultimately question was very dynamic, and प्रतीक ने भी जो डाउट पूछा था, that was also very legitimate doubt. Okay, वो डाउट हम सबके माइंड में आता है while we are doing preparation, but I hope that that doubt is clear and we have learnt something about this topic and about mains in general when we have discussed our today's session. Okay. If you have any doubt regarding your mains answer writing, you can drop it in the comment section. And if you have liked the session, today's session, you can also like this video to give us your encouragement. And we will again meet tomorrow at the same time. Okay. So that's it for today. Thank you and goodbye.